can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Well, now, down here at the bottom of the world, the biggest thing that's happened in sport is, in recent weeks, is that Virat Kohli nudged Sam Constas as they were changing ends in the Boxing Day test here in Melbourne at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and the media have had a conniption. It is a huge thing that someone bumped into an opposition player, and the whole sports media is shut down. But I've got a feeling, I know there's bigger fish to fry across the other side of the world. And to that end, my old mate that's helped me through life, not too successfully, many would say, but he's guided me through my adult life, and he's speaking to us from the other side of the world. I think he's in New York as we speak. The great Eddie Maguire, welcome to You Cannot Be Serious, mate.
Good to be with you, mate. I was thinking that when the theme song was on there, we're going to get right back to where it started from.
That's it. Now, let me ask you this. I don't think we realise here at the bottom of the world how big what you're witnessing over there is at the minute. I know the NFL, the Super Bowl teams that play are huge, but the college football season is in full swing and about to come to a climax and is bigger than probably anything on the planet at the minute.
It is huge. When you talk to people, a lot of people in Australia, granted there's a lot now who follow the college football and understand it, but they think it's like, old Zavs versus old Geelong or something like that, or old Melburnians versus Collegians in the VAFA, when in fact, I was at the last three games I've seen over here watching my son play for the Ohio State. The attendances have been 106, 105 and 102, and the 102,000 was being played in minus 12 degrees at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. So there's fair reason for, and also the college had, the university had closed and people had gone home for Christmas. Still 102,000 people in there, and it was absolutely rocking the place. And thankfully for Ohio State, they had a great win over Tennessee, and they've now advanced to the next round, which is the Rose Bowl, which is going to be played on New Year's Day in Pasadena, which is the most famous of the bowl games. And our boys, the Ohio State, up against Oregon, who are the number one seeded team, who beat us controversially by 1 point in the home and away season. So it's all set up, and from there they go to the Cotton Bowl, and then it's to the national championship. So basically we're in the qualifying final round in AFL parlance, hoping to make it to the preliminary and then to the grand final.
So when you say we, this is the Ohio Buckeyes and your son, Joseph. We'll get on to your other son shortly because the Maguires are about to take the world by storm again. Your son Joe is... it's extraordinary. He's come over from Melbourne. He's gone into a heavy few seasons of training, and he's now right in the mix of it. Just tell us where we are with Joe, and what has he been doing, and what's he required to do, and will he be called on, and what's his journey been, Ed, please?
Yeah, well, it is amazing, Sam, and I think amazing for so many others. This is where college football is getting bigger in Australia. There's some 70-odd Australian men playing football as punters. And in fact, last week, 9 of the 12 teams that made the playoff had Australian punters. This week, 6 of the 8 in the finals that are left are from Australia, including my son Joe, who plays, as you said, for the Ohio State. And it's quite amazing. In fact, I think the way the draw is, we're guaranteed to have an Aussie boy playing in the final in the national championships this year for the college football. Now, NIL is the new sponsorship thing. So some of these guys now at college level are getting paid upwards of $10 million. It's gone to a new level. This is the first year of it. Joe's journey has gone from being a skinny kid in Melbourne, as a lot of people saw him growing up, sitting next to me at the footy, watching the Pies playing. And during COVID, he was, like everybody, he was pretty flat. He was at university. These things had changed, and he wanted to be a professional sportsman. He copped a couple of concussions when he played first 18 level at Melbourne Grammar. He went to school at, And, but he went down there and he was always a beautiful kick. And he decided he'd have a go at pro kick, which is, the local kicking factory, if you like, in Australia. And Nathan Chapman and his team got him in. He had a natural ability to be able to kick the ball. They refined it. And then over the next 2 years, he put on 25 kilos of muscle. He got up every morning at 4:35 in the morning to train. And then he'd do his kicking and he'd do his university. And eventually he was on a bit of a road show with the other Australian boys going around the various colleges.
So
and he got picked up.
So just while we're on the concussions, is he when he comes on the ground, is he in the firing line to be poleaxed, or is he just purely what does he do when he comes onto the ground?
So he's the punter. So he's the break glass in case of emergency.
Yep.
So when there's a fourth down and they've got to get the ball up the other end for the turnover, he comes on and either kicks it as far as he can or kicks it to position that they want him to kick it to.
Yep.
So sometimes he might kick a 40-yard drop punt, which is called a pooch punt, because they want him to kick it to a spot, usually within the first 10 yards. Other times when they're deep, they say, right, get it up in the air and get it down as far as they possibly can.
Now, am I correct in saying it? Am I correct in saying that people like Joe and the other Aussies, but particularly Joe, they have introduced the Americans to a whole new style of not just getting the ball and kicking it in the air. They can almost, like they can in the AFL, make the ball talk, and they have been amazed at some of the ways you kick the ball and how to get it to various. They have revolutionised, if you like, the way punters go about their work.
Yeah, not Joe so much, but the others. Joe's team, because they're right up the very top. The coaches say, we just want you to do this. We've got everything planned. You do that. Some of the other boys, though, have been able to get in there. And in fact, there's been a new way. One of the kicks that they've been doing is actually, the Peter Dacos dribble kick, where if you drill it hard and it bounces up, well, of course, you can imagine what some of the Americans with all the padding and the helmets on, it hits them in the head and bounces off their head and they're able to get the ball back. So the boys have been kicking those. They've been kicking bananas, torpedoes, drop punts, all sorts of different things. And they have completely changed, really punting being the play of last resort to now being an attacking defensive play in some cases. So, the Aussie boys, of which Joe is following in the footsteps of people like
Darren
Nathan
Bennett
Chapman and Darren Bennett was the first one. And, you had Ben Graham from Geelong, Sav Rocker in the NFL. But as I said, there's probably been probably 150 Aussies have played in college now going over there. But to your point, is he in the firing line? Yeah, he is. They don't often get cleaned up, but he almost did the other week where the defence didn't hold them back and they were coming at him at a rate of knots. One of his mates got cleaned up recently and had his fib, his tib, and every ligament in his knee blown up to the point that the lower part of his leg was being held on by the skin, literally, of his leg. So, when they hit, they stay hit. So the idea is to make sure you get that ball away. But, it's a team game and the opposition are trying to kill you.
So you're in you're in
I'm
New
in
York.
Ohio,
No.
I'm in Ohio at the moment,
Okay, so you're there. And so I was just going to ask you about, the camaraderie. So he's well received and it's a huge, it's just a team, it's a huge, no individuals in it, or is he well received there and well regarded by players and coaches and staff alike? Yeah,
it's like everything, but the interesting thing here is it's so cutthroat. If you're not up to it, you get cut. It's as simple as that. Next. So, they all got on really well with each other, but it's a bit like, I remember you made a very good point to me a long, long time ago, Sam. So I listened to you when you talked to me, and you said to me one time, the essence of playing team sport, particularly in football, is to play as first off, be selfish, i.e. you beat your opponent.
Correct.
And if everyone in your team beats their opponent, then the collective team will work out and will generally win. And in that situation, it doesn't mean be selfish. It means beat your opponent and then you bring your teammates and look after them. It's a bit like that. Everyone's playing because everyone's playing college football now because they've got all these sponsorships that are up for grabs. And, of course, they're all auditioning to go to the NFL. So it's very much that situation. You do what you need to do. The coaches are into you. I mean, literally, Sam, every day he goes to training, they have to urinate, and there is a light that goes on to say whether you're hydrated enough, and you have to stand there until you're hydrated enough to be able to go to training, because they've got levels that suggest that if you're not hydrated enough, you're more susceptible to muscle injury.
Yeah.
You are weighed in, you're weighed out, because they want you to be the same weight on the way out. So eat up before you go home. You turn up here, you stand there, you kick it there, you run there, you hit there, you do this, and that's what it is. It is absolutely military, far more military in its precision than what we have in AFL football, even at the top level.
And savage drug testing over there, talking about urinating, that never is part of it, or it is?
Oh, no, well, look, they drug test everybody, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
For recreational drugs or steroids?
Yeah, I'd need to check that. I think everything, but certainly, all the drugs and things. I don't know necessarily if they do it for marijuana or not. I think that's reasonably prevalent around the whole of America. You walk around,
it's actually legal.
The smell of marijuana is everywhere, which is legal. Yeah, it is. Yeah, but certainly performance-enhancing drugs, and probably on the higher end of recreational drugs.
So now you and Carla are there?
Yes. We're about to head to LA. The game's in Pasadena, and it's a long, long way to Pasadena, by the way.
It's a long way. So, Ed, you're domiciled in the United States of America until Joe's team, the Ohio Buckeyes, get cut. Are you? Is that how it works?
Hopefully we can ride the wave, yeah. So
no, I'm just saying, they keep winning and Joe keeps playing. You ride this all the way to the, what's it called? Not the Cotton Bowl,
the National Championships. Yeah,
National Champion. What's that called?
That's called the National
Championship. It's not called it's not called the Super Bowl or the Rose Bowl or the Cotton Bowl. It's called.
It's all changed. Well, it's all changed a bit. This is the first year, Sam, they've had like a final 12. Previously, it was sort of, they got to bowl games, and then they basically voted on which teams were better, because some conferences are better than others. So it's in a bit of a period of transition. But basically, this is the week now that the top 8 are there. And, I've actually been talking about that in AFL for a while, that we should maybe extend it out to a top 12, get an extra week of finals that means something, rather than some of the dud games towards the end of the season. But it actually has worked. It's been interesting just on a couple of different observations. On the weekend, on Christmas Day, Netflix over here for the first time broadcast the NFL, and they've had record crowds. They had Beyonce at halftime, who actually attracted more watchers than It was huge. But again, it just shows where sport and entertainment, but also having to put the actual product on when people are watching or want to watch. So I would suggest that with the sale of Foxtel, that the days of an afternoon grand final in the AFL are going to be numbered.
I'm glad you mentioned. I've got this written down here to ask you that I heard Foxtel have been sold to. Is that Danz, D-A-N-Z, or Danz, or no? Is that a Ukrainian billionaire has bought it? Has he or not?
British based, but also I think Saudi backed, and. So they're the biggest. They want to be the Netflix of sport, if you like. So they're aggregating sports organisations from right around the world, and Foxtel with the NFL and the AFL and the cricket and just about everything else that's going on, including the college football, which you can watch on ESPN next week. It's a huge changeover. I mean, I don't know what used to happen with the foreign ownership laws in media. I think they're long gone, but that one slipped through without anyone probably telling us. But it's a massive sale from the Murdochs. Obviously, News Limited selling that. But I know Patrick Delaney is staying on, and it'll be a pretty smooth transition from what we're seeing. But it's another big change in our media landscape. And I think you've heard me say this a million times, Sam, over the journey, when I've said sooner or later, and it's going to be sooner rather than later, the people making the decision on how much AFL or NFL for that matter get paid for the TV rights won't be living down in the Docklands. They'll be overseas, and they will look at the figures and the figures only, and they'll pay money appropriately. So that day has come now, and that's my point, is that they will be looking to see who rates the most, how it works, and how they can make money out of it the best way possible, because it's a straight up business transaction now, and that's where it's at. And when you look at the weekend on Christmas Day, everyone, you look at that and you go, right, okay, they had something like 27 million people watching in America, and Beyonce with this extravagant halftime setup. That's where it's going. It's the collision of entertainment, whether it's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, or Beyonce performing, or what we used to see at the halftime entertainment at the Super Bowl, and now seeing better entertainment at the grand finals, etc. You've got to be in prime time, and it's a matter of who's watching and how many people are watching. That's going to pay the bills going forward. So, there's going to be there'll be. I don't think it'll be profound changes, because the media's changed so much in recent times, but there are going to be pretty big changes happening in the way we watch and curate our sports in the next few years.
So you're ahead of the curve, Ed. Had you still been running the Nine network, I see Hugh Marks has left Nine to go and run the ABC. You could have been just overseeing the fiscal interest that the AFL has with these British billionaires. You would be just telling people just exactly what it is that we require over here.
No, I don't know if that's the case, but to the point though, it's I think the AFL is in really good shape to do. I mean, they've done the deal anyway, so the AFL's right for the next 7 or 8 years. So that's been done. Well done to Gil McLachlan for getting the money at up front. The NRL have still got to do their deal, but there's still people in there. So you've still got 7 and 9 and Channel 10, still wanting to keep the lights on free-to-air TV, and you've got the anti-siphoning rules, which will make sure that stays, you'd say, for at least the next political cycle. So, as I said, it's not changing. It won't be overnight, but it'll start to happen as we're seeing more and more. Look, the streaming services are just eating the world now. They're just so big. They're so powerful. They've got so much money, and they've got great reach, and that's where it's at. It's as simple as that. It's like the transition from radio to television. There'll always be a role for radio, but television became the big thing, and now streaming's exactly that.
So, Ed, now you have I'm sure you have extensive contacts over in America, because you're a media mover and shaker. There's no doubt about that, Ed. Has anyone actually ever heard of us down here? Does they know anything about this country?
Look, it's like everything. Every time you get into a car in America, they say, "I really want to come to Australia." It's just too far. And then you get in the conversation. It's interesting at the moment over here that Donald Trump's wanting to take over Canada.
That was next on my list.
Is it really? Because it's we've always joked that we're the 51st state of America in Australia in many ways. As independent as we are and original as we are heavily influenced by American culture, probably more so than British culture these days, as it's changed over the last 40 years or so. But, it'll be interesting to see where Donald Trump sees Australia, whether, I've always had a long-term, this goes back to before he was in the first time, where I had a theory, Sam, and I've got plenty of them, as you well know, that, Donald Trump's a deal maker. And, if he thinks that Vladimir Putin is sort of positioned for Europe, that he's not got much interest in, and China's got its position in Southeast Asia, and he has the Americas, who knows? That might be the deal that he looks at that says works well for everybody. I just hope that he still sees Australia as being part of his plans in Southeast Asia, because it's going to be an interesting period going forward. But again, he's into Panama, which he doesn't reckon.
Yep.
They built the Panama Canal.
Yep.
Now he's getting charged a fortune for it. He's saying, no, not going to have that. And even this weekend, at the moment, the big story in America today is two Canadian cabinet members have flown down to Mar-a-Lago to have a meeting with him over the weekend, and Bill Gates is going to be there at the same time. So he's aggregating all the big American business people. They're all now sitting at his table, and he's not even in as president. And the impact he's had on international politics is just unbelievable to watch.
And surely it's all... he's got them on the run, the tongue-in-cheek about Canada as the 52nd state or the 51st,
yeah.
Panama, taking over Panama. I see Wayne. That's got the attention of Wayne Gretzky. He's decided he might stand against Justin Trudeau. So I think he's got him on the run. He has.
Well, the great one and the great one joining forces.
So tell me this, Ed. So I keep quite an interest in this. How can that country where you are now, how can anyone, whether you're a supporter or not of the Democrats, how can they not laugh that man who is the president? How can they let him go on? He's spent 40% of his time as president on holidays. He has no idea what's going on. He is an absolute buffoon, and the woman who tried to take over from him is the most unworthy. Why can't the media, even if they're aligned or joined at the hip to the Democrats, why can't they say this is a joke? We are the laughing stock.
Well, I think, Sam, there's 24 days to go to the inauguration, I think. And as we just said in the last answer, already Donald Trump's running the country. So, this is the most caretaker of caretaker governments other than, a couple of steak knives in the form of pardons, etc., that's happening. But this administration, Joe Biden's administration is over. It's done. It's just in caretaker mode. So, no one even I'm sitting here watching NBC as we're speaking, and all it is Trump and what he's doing and what's happening. No one even thinks about it. The next time we see anything that's got any significance of Joe Biden will be at the inauguration as he hands over. Well, they're handing over the keys to the White House. So I wouldn't even worry about it too much. It's moved. The White House is domiciled for the last month and a half down at Mar-a-Lago, and that's the way it's happening.
Now, I've got a feeling the Trump effect, the Trump ripple is about to hit Victoria, because I see the new opposition leader is Brad Batten, ex-copper, and Sam Groth is his deputy. I reckon they're the J.D. Vance and the Trump of Victoria, and unless the de facto Andrews government, led by Jacinda Allen, can give more entitlements and benefits to the public service, they're going to sweep in here surely.
Well, they can't even sweep through their own party room at the moment. So, I mean, seriously, I reckon we could bring back the footy show and get a better government or cabinet going at the moment. But it's it is. It's a bit. I suppose the most disheartening thing that I look at the moment is that both parties are just driven by factionalism, and the media have sort of become cheerleaders for one or the other, and we're just not getting any real conversation about where we need to go. This always happens in politics, is that people become so compromised that they can't even do the job in the end because of deals and deals and deals and deals. And we've seen it with, when we went through that run of prime ministers, people coming in and having to stand by decisions that they were diametrically opposed to, but because they were brought in to be prime ministers because of one faction or support bases here and there. So it's very disheartening from that point of view, because the more you do travel, the more you realise what an amazing country we have and a great city of Melbourne and Victoria. What we have to make sure we don't do is, because things are so good in our country, and particularly in Victoria, that we don't import our own problems. And I don't say that as far as migration is concerned, but everything. We have to go looking overseas for issues to march in the streets over. We should just be sitting down and going, right, okay, what do we need to get back in line to get ourselves happening? We need to get our law and order sorted out. We need to get education, all the things that, that's what governments do. They're supposed to run the police force. They're supposed to run, the judiciary is supposed to stand aside to it. But it's part of the what we have in our city that keeps us great, the independence of that. But education, health, it's not that hard. Transport, they're the things they should be worried about. One thing I did notice today, though, was I went to get, I parked the car over here to go and have some brunch, Sam. And,
you're driving a car over there, Ed, are you?
I do drive a car over here.
How are you going with the left-hand drive over there? You're looking to the left instead of the right? Haven't cleaned up any pedestrians yet, looking the wrong side of the car?
Well, not that I've noticed anyway. But I tell you what, for an hour's car parking, guess what it cost me for an hour's car parking? You know what it's like in Melbourne these days? Car parking, $1.30 cost.
Man, man.
And I'm just saying that in that one of the things, there's been a couple of stories actually in the Australian papers that I've read the last couple of days about we've got to get our mindset changed. We've just become, I know you've said this for years, and I know it's a cliche to say we've become a nana country and all the rest of it. We have to save ourselves save the idiots from themselves. That's why you have laws, because common sense people and people of any sort of IQ can usually get themselves from one point A to point B in life. But I noticed there was an interesting one. I'll throw this up to you, Sam. Did you see how many people went to Bronte Beach in Sydney on Christmas Day? Did you see that story at all?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what do I say? Well,
you can tell me about the news going on here in Australia from America, Ed, please, would you?
I will.
Yeah.
A bit like the old days of the footy. So we had the Boxing Day test in Melbourne, and it's fantastic. 90,000 people there. So the equivalent amount turned up basically in Sydney on Bronte Beach and had this amazing day where you couldn't see any of the sand because it was just people. Most of them were backpackers and travellers and young people having the absolute day of their life. Of course, what's the story in the paper? Oh, it's terrible. You know, they've left rubbish on the beach, which was cleaned up by the people who are paid to clean up the rubbish on the beach that day. You reckon that would be? We should be putting that up in Times Square, Leicester Square, Trafalgar Square, every other square where it's freezing over on this side of the world, saying this is what you could be doing in Australia if you plan your summer holidays to get out of these places. We look at things these days. Everything is a problem. Nothing is an opportunity to succeed anymore in the media and in Australia. We're always running around in circles, trying to hide from what's actually going on. No one can say they make a mistake anymore because you're a disgrace and you should be sacked. So we've got to this situation where just, if we were just honest in our, I'm probably asking too much in politics, but if we're just honest and come out and say, right, okay, here's where we found ourselves. For example, the debt in Victoria. Right. We had 50 years where we didn't build any infrastructure. We're going to be heading towards 6 or 7 million people, which is good for Australia, good for our long-term business, good for our economy, all the rest of it. But we have to spend a fair bit of money on infrastructure. Okay, let's put it into the right infrastructure. Let's not do it maybe all at once, but these are things that need to be done. And here is the plan that we're all going to subscribe to pay down our debt or do whatever we need to do. Instead of everybody hiding as if nothing's going on. We're all over 18. We all have to budget our households. We all run businesses, whether it's, running, as I said, your house or running a major business. It's all the same sort of idea. There's no mystery to it. You want to have more money coming in than going out, but you can use debt to your advantage. But all we need to have is honesty. But what we have now is this complete culture of gotcha, where everyone's an idiot. Everyone's a disgrace. No one can have a point of view. The prosecution of ideas isn't there anymore. It's how can you be made look like an idiot? And as a result of that, we end up with idiots and we don't get anybody coming through. You can't put up a decent suggestion these days that can be picked apart or, yep, that's a good part. We'll get rid of that. We'll keep that. None of this is happening in Australia at the moment. And as a result of that, I think we're going backwards. So I think really what we need to do is just take a deep breath, recalibrate, put a bit of honesty and come up with a plan and stick to it rather than coming up with a plan to get through today's media cycle so we can get to tomorrow and hope something else is there to take away anyone's, it's the old thing. If you shut up for a week, there'll be something else, but no one ever fixes the problems. And that's what we need to get back to, I think.
Well, Ed, so honesty and yes, honesty and transparency. Of course, that is why this state is $200 billion in debt, because we have had the most corrupt and dishonest government led by Daniel Andrews ever.
Well,
that's why. And I understand. We've got to have infrastructure, and we haven't done any major works. But you talk about planning and doing a budget, not spending more than you take in. I mean, seriously, we are absolutely bereft. We're threadbare.
Well, I think just to your point, though, Sam.
Thank you, Ed.
If you actually listen to what you said there, that's exactly what I'm saying. Maybe without the vitriol, and go right. Okay.
What was vitriolic about that?
Well, you sort of went a little bit off.
What the Andrews government's not corrupt or dishonest? Are you not serious, are you?
Sam, I'll just say this: we needed to put the infrastructure in place.
Yes,
Okay,
we did.
now, what you need to do then is have a public service or a relevant infrastructure people who are looking at this in the context of where the world is going. So, okay, COVID came in and blew things up, but we've got to recover. You've got to be able to pivot and move on.
Yeah, they lied about that.
We're in vigorous agreement on things. Okay,
Thank you,
what
Ed.
is what is there? We need to adapt and respond to, not just stay on a particular ideological course or get caught up in factionalism, as I said, where you are making decisions based on staying in power rather than actually making the right decisions.
Yes.
And that applies to everybody. Now, we've seen that right the way through on both sides of the house, so I don't have any problem saying that. And that's what we need to do. We need to get people and say, right, okay, come on, let's get going. I mean, this is the problem at the moment. The Liberal Party in Victoria should be that far ahead going into the next election, yet they keep shooting themselves, not in the foot, they shoot themselves in the head. I mean, if we can't even become an effective opposition, what chance have you got of knocking off the government? So, that's what we need. We need a bit of a three-quarter time address, I reckon, to our political leaders, but also to our media and probably as a community to say, well, what do we want? What do we want to leave for the next 25 years?
No.
Is this the first day of the rest of our lives, or is this the last day of what we've got going in the past? We need to actually recalibrate and go forward. And I think that we can do this, but we need to get people to, deciding that this is what they want to have.
Right now, I'm getting off politics now, Ed, because in case this ends in
well,
tears.
I'm saying apolitical.
I'm staying.
I'm talking philosophy.
Yeah, and beautifully done too. Now, the last time we spoke, you had some very interesting ways you thought sport, and I know you've just mentioned it. Do you think entertainment is going to be just as big a part as the actual contest coming up? You mentioned Beyonce, and you had some very interesting very interesting opinions about the venues and how you cover sport and how the new age they roll in pitches and roll them out, and with the Olympics coming up in Brisbane, are we actually going to be able to afford that, and are they worth affording, do you think?
Well, it's one of those things, Sam. It's we can't afford not to. We're going to come into Los Angeles. Every stadium is built in Los Angeles for the 28 Olympics. Yep. Every stadium is built already. And what they've done at SoFi Stadium, which by the time we get to the Olympics, we'll have had 2 Super Bowls, the equivalent of 120 Taylor Swift concerts, about 5 or 6 years of 2 teams from the NFL playing there, and all these other things happening. It is a magnificent stadium. But what they've done is they're going to dig up the middle of it. They're going to put a swimming pool in there, and they're going to get 40,000 to watch the swimming. They're going to put the swimming in the second week of the Olympics because they're going to have the opening ceremony at SoFi Stadium, the first night of it, with a cover over the pool. Then they'll spend the next week changing it over. They'll have the athletics down at the old Coliseum for the 3rd time in Olympic history. And they've got it all set up. As Casey Wasserman, who's running the Olympics, said to me, he said, there'll be no smell of paint, fresh paint, when you turn up here. Everything is done. He says, so I've got 4 years to actually put the biggest show on earth on to show what LA and America's all about. Now, with Donald Trump in as the president and, LA and Silicon Valley and all the money that's around there these days, they're going to put on one of the greatest shows of all time.
And it'll be the 250th, won't it be, anniversary of America, won't it be?
1776. So,
won't he be presiding over the 250th anniversary of America being what it is, I think?
250.
Yep.
So the point that I'm about to make is 8 years now on, the Olympics are going to be in Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't think they're going to be short of a quid to put on a big show. In between, we have Brisbane. Okay? Now, we don't want to look like the school sports. We've got an opportunity, and it should be a whole of Australia situation. Brisbane have got the games. Let's do something decent with them. So they had the longest lead into an Olympic Games ever, and they've burnt up about 2 or 3 years of that already and still haven't got to anywhere. So they have to decide what they need up in Brisbane. Now that doesn't mean they need to go broke, but if they're going to be, involved in world sport, whether it's the Brisbane Lions, state of origin football, test matches, concerts in Brisbane, as Brisbane and Queensland grows and grows and grows, they're going to need that infrastructure. So it goes back to the earlier point. How much debt do you go into to have essential infrastructure, or do you not do it and you just look like a backwater and miss your opportunity? So they're decisions that need to be made. They're brave decisions that need to be made. But I can tell you, Sam, that there was a massive argument going on in 1954, 1955 over whether the Melbourne Olympic Games should be at Princes Park or at the MCG. In the end, it went to the MCG and they built the Olympic stand. And that was the first year, 1956, where we got 100,000 to a grand final after the Olympics, when Ron Brassey played against Collingwood in the 1956 games grand final, which Melbourne won. That changed what football ended up becoming. Suddenly 100,000 for grand finals and major finals. Then when we built, you go back, when we built the Northern Stand, which was for the public back in 1927, I think it was, it changed football. It went from just being a suburban game to being at least having a major headquarters for it. When we built the Great Southern Stand, memberships went from 20,000 to 80,000 at the clubs that played at the MCG, and now over 100,000. The infrastructure drives the mechanisms for your business in sport to work. And over here, they're just building bigger and better stadiums. Yep. The NFL are now going to international cities and playing games, and hopefully one of them will be Melbourne. And you know the reason why it could be Melbourne? Because we've got a 100,000 seat stadium called the MCG, which needs to be updated. But again, we've got to get that into a plan that works, because we have to build hospitals, and we have to have schools, and have to have the police force, but we need to have an MCG that is comparable with the best stadiums in the world, so that we can continue to grow. And if we're able to get the NFL, it'd be unbelievable.
Well, we could bring the Andrews government back, and they could actually tip in another $100 billion and completely bankrupt us. Of course, we did have the Commonwealth. We did have the Commonwealth Games, Ed, but he cancelled them.
Yeah, I know, but probably had that been set to be at the MCG, we might have been in a good position to spend the money on the Southern Stand, but also going forward, it doesn't have to be governments. We can just because it's been what it's been in the past, we could privatise. We could have investors. We've got 250,000 people on the MCG waiting list. The AFL's got a waiting list for its members. The MCG is very, very well run by the MCC, and I'll declare an interest. I've just become a member of the MCG Trust. So I might have to actually. I've just got banned from the MCG. I bought a members ticket with my thing and didn't accompany the person to the game, and they said, "Oh, you're meant to accompany someone who you buy a ticket for." And I said, "Well, I didn't know that." So I've been banned for next year. I have. They wrote me a letter and said, "We noticed that you purchased a ticket and gave it to someone else." And I said, "Yeah, I did." Well, you do like a bit of law and order, so there you go.
No, that's right. If they're the rules, they're the rules. So now.
But anyway, what I'm saying is that there is many ways for us to do these things, and that's why I always encourage people: get out, go around. So the problem is, you send a politician or you send people on fact-finding tours, and everyone thinks they're going to a party. And I remember when the Governor Linda Dessau had a glass of champagne. It was, I don't know what it wasn't a Dom Perignon or anything. It was just
not Cristal or
something. No, but even if it was, big deal. She was entertaining somebody of significant relevance. Anyway, it's the front page. Every time somebody goes over, they're out, wasting taxpayers' money. You've got to get out to see what's going on. And part of what I'm doing here, I've been to SoFi, I've been down to the Buckeye Stadium to see how they do it, because, as I said, it was -12, no roof. And it was freezing, but they're all in there enjoying it. I'm a bit the other way. I think, we need to make sure that we have stadia that is at least one or two that have a roof or can at least be covered if need be. We saw the ridiculous situation up in Queensland again at the Gabba, where the second test against India was completely washed out, cost everyone a fortune, and was a complete anticlimax. Build the stadium for your cricket, for your football, for your Olympic Games. It's not that hard.
Now,
Anyway.
Now, Ed, just finally, Ed, this has been just a very, very interesting conversation. Just some footy, just to get back locally, some footy wars here, and I've got a feeling you're right in the middle of them, either directly or indirectly. You've got your son, Xander, going to Channel 7. Yeah, Jammer, your media company, is producing shows for 7, I think. And
but that was a beat up, that story.
Oh, was it?
Yep. We've been producing, the show. We did Talking Footy for them years ago, but also we did the VFL, the Sandful, the Waffle that's broadcast on 7. That's really got nothing to do with anything, and there's only a couple of very small Wills play a small role in some of their shows. But no, we produce the main shows we produce are the Channel 9 classifieds and Sunday footy shows. So no, that was a little bit mischievous. It was beaten up, but Xander, he I don't think 7 have announced it yet, but there is talk that he might be going over to.
You're not,
take on his career,
and you're not just thinking. You're not just around there, just coming back to oversee or host anything, are you? Or
No, I'm just doing my own thing. I'll be doing footy classified on a Tuesday night, Sam. I'm semi-retired.
Who's on that as we speak?
Well, okay, I haven't announced that yet.
Haven't you?
No.
Why don't you announce it now then, Ed?
Well,
who's in the running?
Well, Tuesday will be. Well, it'll be. I'll be there, and James Hurd will be there.
Yes.
And then it depends where the cards land as far as Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night's concerned. We're just we've got to get through the pre-season yet, Sam, and see who's match fit for the big occasions. But it'll all get sorted. But Sam McClure is going to be on, I think, on Monday night, and Tommy Morris will be on Sunday night, and Jimmy Bartell will be there, and Damien Barrett will be there, and various others. So we'll keep it. Don't have to announce everything just yet.
And if anyone who could forgive Wayne Carey for any of the transgressions that people think he's been part of, maybe he could come back. The number one player probably that's played. He could.
No, I don't think Wayne will be back now. No.
He's under counselling from a woman called Tess. He's part of this podcast.
I know, mate. I listened to it, and I understand he's about to have another baby this week.
Yeah, well, he is.
Good luck to the duck.
The duck, having a little duckling. So, Ed, this has been fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're going to keep. So we'll know when will we know when Joe is the final?
The game's New Year's Day here, so I think it's about. Morning of, not too early, I think it might be 9 o'clock in the morning on January 2 in Australia.
Yep.
And I think it's on ESPN on Foxtel. So you'll be able to watch it.
Yes, I got that information, so I'm going to...
so it's the mighty Ohio State. They're actually called the Ohio State.
The Ohio Buckeyes.
Up against, coincidentally, the Oregon Ducks.
The Oregon Ducks, are they?
Yeah, it's duck season.
Well, Ed, what we must do is come back and have another chat about politics sometime.
It's a good banter around. It's a good thing to talk about. It's, as we know, there's good and bad on both sides of politics. But it's got to be not only an argument of ideas, but you got to get the ideas and then you got to cost them and you got to make them work. But
exactly.
At the same time, you've actually got to build some things to actually make life work. And I think that
I'm with you.
The accumulation of sins is one thing, but at the same time we have to make sure that it all works. And we've got a great opportunity to finish on, Sam. And it sounds like I'm making a political speech here, but I do love our city and our state. It's been very, very good to my family and myself. And we've got an enormous opportunity. We have such a fantastic place, but we've got to stop the wailing and the whining and the whinging and the backbiting and the sniping and the tripping over of anybody who's actually got a good idea. And we've got to stop all this factionalism and get some common sense back into what we need to do to get our city going, to get our state going. What are the priorities that we have to get in line with the money that is available? How do we work and sacrifice? And there will need to be some sacrifice. Don't just call it taxes and slip it in and charge us $300 to park our car when we should be paying $1.30 like they are doing in Ohio. How do we work out these things that is fair and reasonable? And if there has to be a tax to live in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia, I'm willing to pay it because it's the best place on earth to be. But let's not tax ourselves out of existence. Let's not drive everybody mad with ideological issues. Let people live a free and healthy lifestyle. And if you step outside of that, you get clobbered.
Well done, Ed. And if we get another pandemic, let's make sure we don't lock the state down and drive it right into the ocean. Ed, this you are a star. You are a
That's ancient history now, Sam.
What's that?
Let's move forward. It's ancient history now. Go forward. Trump's back. You're happy.
Ed, you're a bloody star, mate. Thank you so much for joining us on You Cannot Be Serious. And we wish Joe and Xander, but we wish Joe and you and Carla just have a great next week or so. And if you can bring home the buttered confection indirectly back to Melbourne, I might even shout you a beer somewhere.
Right. Well, mate, we're going to have a beer somewhere, and hopefully we've got the championship ring on the finger.
Good on you, mate. Eddie Maguire from, where are you again?
Ohio. O-H-I-O. 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 That's all we sing, mate.
Good on you, mate. All the best. Thank you so much.
See you, buddy.
Bye-bye.